Welcome to On and Off the Mic with Mike Corey.
I've known Ryan Fannon for almost 20 years now. We met when I started doing Delaware Blue Hen games on the radio, and he was calling games for the Villanova Wildcats, as he continues to do today for his alma mater. He's a great friend. We've had many meaningful conversations over the years about everything and anything. He's been able to call a national championship for Villanova football and 2 national titles for Villanova basketball. I've always enjoyed talking with him on the phone and getting together anytime we can. Here's our conversation over breakfast one morning in his hometown of Alexandria, Virginia.
You know, when I saw you yesterday, I was thinking about all the years where you and I used to run into each other at all the Villanova, Delaware football games, and what an unbelievable rivalry.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, every year, I love games at Delaware. I love games at Villanova, but I also love at Delaware because the fans there have always, been very passionate.
Yeah.
And it gets loud, and it's just a great FCS setting.
You got a new press box, you know that?
I heard it's
Finally,
coming.
it's coming. It's not going to be ready this year,
I know, but we're playing Delaware at home this year.
Yes.
So
good.
when Villanova goes down there in 2020, we'll have to check out the new digs.
That's awesome. No, that was cool because I was talking to you last night about that with I mean, you remember all those, and so do I, but I forgot, what was it? Delaware had 38 points.
So the craziest story I've ever been involved in with a football team at any level, Villanova, Delaware, 1999 at Villanova Stadium. We were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
Villanova was leading the game 24-7 in the second quarter. And Delaware scores 38 consecutive points and doesn't win the game. So over the years, Mike, I've always asked people, who have you ever heard at the high school, college, pro level ever scored 38 consecutive points and not won the game?
Right.
At any point, think about that. Whether you started up 38-0, I know there was the famous Maryland comeback over Miami, and there's been other ones, the Buffalo Bills playoff game,
right.
But I'm thinking literally, a team scores 38 consecutive points at any point in a game, and they didn't win that game. So when Villanova's up 24-7, Delaware scores 38 unanswered. Early fourth quarter, Delaware's winning 45-24 now. And then Villanova, a couple block punts later, they score 21 unanswered in literally 11 minutes. It's tied 45-45. We go to overtime, and Villanova wins on a Duke Augustin 25-yard touchdown run. So Villanova answered with 27 consecutive points after Delaware had scored the 38 straight to take the 21-point lead in the fourth. And that one, to me, was insane. But there's another one. I think the year was 2013 down in Chester. And Villanova trailed 34-12 with under 9 minutes to go. And they won the game 35-34.
What's the other one you were talking about where somebody won by 20 points?
It was actually the year before the 99 epic game.
Oh, right. Okay, 98.
Villanova went to Delaware, was beating Delaware 35-10, up 25 points in the second quarter, and Delaware ends up winning the game 59-49. So Delaware, after being down 25, 42. And it was almost right before halftime.
Right.
Delaware goes on a 49-7 run the rest of the game. Are you kidding me? These Delaware-Villanova games, you can't make this up. These games, I've never seen anything like it. And there was a famous game back in the late 60s where Villanova won with Drew Gordon at quarterback. And Mike Ciani, who ended up playing in the NFL, they had, which was maybe even better than this. I think that one they were down, if I remember just off the top of my head, they were down 33-7 or something like that in the fourth quarter or something, and won the game.
It's awesome. I always loved it because you knew it was the last game of the season every year.
Great. So much on the line.
There was, and even if there wasn't, it was still just you wanted to win that game. I mean, I was talking to some people about the Army-Navy game. You'll never know what that rivalry is about unless you have played at Army or Navy. Those they don't care whether they go 0-10. And they want to win that game. It doesn't even matter except for that game. It's ridiculous. But
So many great ones.
so we gonna like next year? You want me to come down here, or do we go to a different spot? We used to play golf like summers, not every summer, but we would catch up,
Yeah.
And I love coming down here to play with you. It's too bad we got the poured on. But.
Well, I think because we only got 5 holes in yesterday,
Right.
I'll vote we come back here and
We got to come back
get our
here.
18 holes in over at Villanova.
Right. It's awesome.
Good track.
How do you face a lot of traffic normally when you're driving? I mean, you come back late from games, right?
Well, I do, and it's funny you brought that up because people still say to me, now wait a minute, let me understand this.
Like all they say.
You're the radio guy for Villanova and you live in Virginia. How does that work? And I always answer, I have a little fun with it. I say, well, let me explain it this way. When Villanova's at home, I'm on the road.
Right.
When Villanova's on the road, I'm on the road again.
Yeah.
And when we play Georgetown, the team I want to beat the most, I got a 20-minute commute to Capital One Arena to call the game. And my wife's looking at me 2 hours before the game going, what are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be on the road 7 hours ago driving to Philly? So it's been crazy. I've been doing the back and forth since 2001. Because when I graduated Villanova in 93, I was working up there doing sports marketing, working up there full time, but really since 2001 now, I've lived in Virginia and done the football, basketball, radio for Villanova. But it's a labor of love. I'm a night owl. Like, I love driving. Like, after games, I'm so wound up. We get off. The interesting one, my all-timer was, we played Creighton. Late game. And we always fly back on the charter right after the game. So by the time we landed in Philly, it was 4 a.m. And I got in my car and drove to Virginia. And I remember, I think I got home around 6:45 a.m. And that was, I think, my all-time of playing a game, flying back. Because a lot of times, like if we play at Providence, we'll fly into Philly at midnight. And I can go from Philadelphia International to my house in Alexandria in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's actually closer from the airport to get to Alexandria by about 10 minutes than it is from Villanova. But I always try to travel, going back to your original, non-peak times.
Yeah, you have to.
Because
you have to.
I go after 9:30 in the morning.
Right.
So a lot of times, like I'll just go up midday and get there for the shoot around.
Yep.
And then the pregame meal that's always 4 hours before. And then after the game, I'll come back, get my Mountain Dew at the Delaware house on 95, and it's like I said,
That's great.
I think it's a lot of travel, but I've always just loved it.
The Dew will keep you up. That'll keep you up.
Oh yeah, the Dew is crazy.
Wow, that's a blast of the past. You drink coffee, right?
I'm not a
Are
coffee
you not?
drinker.
You're not.
No.
That was funny. It's because you asked me that last night, and I thought it's because you did too. So you wanted to go out and get coffee this morning.
Maybe 3-4 days a week, I'll have like a canned soda, like a Coke, or
really?
Pepsi.
You never got into coffee?
But I never got into coffee ever.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
People have teased me. They say you're enthusiastic
They
enough.
think you're on coffee.
If you had coffee, you'd be over the top.
You probably don't need it.
That's
a good.
I drink my water.
Yeah, but the Mountain Dew would be like 5 times the coffee anyway. So.
Yeah.
But thank God you don't do that every day.
Yeah.
I do some people.
I
one
do
person,
Mountain Dew like 4 times a year, maybe. Like
Okay.
I usually just get the soda, Coke or Pepsi, get you a little caffeine.
One person I do have like a what do you call it? Red Bull, like every day. I know that can't be good.
Yeah, can't be.
I don't think so. Yeah. I know. I love it down here though. This is nice. Like it's a nice area, and you're right off the highway, so that's cool. It's like
and you can get to everything.
You can.
That was one of the things I remember when I chose Villanova to go there undergrad.
Right.
I wanted to be near a major metropolitan city, loved sports, but didn't want to be in it. And Villanova was about 12 miles west of Philadelphia, so it was like perfect. And I lived just about the same, Alexandria, even a little less outside of D.C.
Right.
And being a sports nut, growing up, going to Redskins, Bullets games when they were the Bullets
the
before
Bullets.
the Wizards, driving up to Baltimore because didn't have the Nats in D.C. and then hockey. But it's been awesome, and I grew up during all the Redskins Super Bowls. So it's been other than the Caps winning the Stanley Cup in 2018. It's been a painful 25 years for DC sports, but as a kid I was spoiled. 4 Super Bowls, winning 3 of them.
Right.
3 different quarterbacks.
Right.
I
can see how they're like so annoyed now with everything. It's like It's tough.
It is.
You know, I mean, it's tough. And I'm a Patriots fan because I grew up in New England, so everybody gives you a hard time.
All y'all
about
do
that.
is parades.
Right, I know, right?
It's crazy.
But it is.
But you waited a long time.
I did.
For that
That's
first
it's
Red
the same
Sox.
thing. Yeah. So
What, 1918 till?
Oh, I know, 2004.
Yeah.
See, you're
That's a
absolutely
long
right.
wait.
Right, and the Patriots too. They were terrible. Like nobody understands that. Like they all know what they know now. You had the opposite. You had all those Super Bowls,
Early,
and now
and
now
then
it's
I've
terrible.
had this 25-year drought.
I mean,
I still can't believe the Caps won the Stanley Cup. And
that was the
I
best
took my kids to the
celebration.
parade, and
Yeah.
like it was that was something. And I'm not a huge hockey guy, but
Right.
that was the town was starving for anything. So being one of the 4 major sports to win it, and just the scene outside Capital One Arena, I was absolutely mesmerized and could not believe how big it was. But that just goes to show you when a city is starved for a championship,
fired up.
that they'll just go nuts.
what about when you just showed me a picture last night, and I realized this, that you hosted the parade when Villanova basketball won the title. What was
Yeah,
that like? Did you do both? Or
So
was- okay.
I remember when Villanova beat Carolina at the buzzer in Houston in 16 to win it all. It was unbelievable. I remember going back to the hotel that night, and the whole thing was surreal. And then a day or two later, Jay Wright said, "Hey Ryan, I want you to MC the parade." And I'm like, "Sure, Coach, I'd love to." And then I'm up there, and I'm looking out, and it's still surreal. Like, just, the whole thing. And then for us to win a national championship at the buzzer against North Carolina, I mean, all of those heartbreaks against North Carolina. I remember I was on an interview the day of the national championship game, and someone said, "If you could play anybody tonight for the national championship, who would you play?" And I said, I'm not kidding when I say this, and I know we're playing them, so it might sound like I'm saying this, but I'm not. It would be North Carolina, because you think about like the great program, like would you want to play UCLA because of the history? Would you want to play Duke? Would you want to play Kentucky? Would you want to play Carolina? Would you want to play Indiana? And because of our history with Carolina, of some great heartbreaks, I literally that day wanted to play and we beat Duke in the Sweet 16. I always wanted to broadcast a Duke Villanova NCAA tournament game, and we beat them so bad in Boston in 2009 in the Sweet 16 that every time the bracket comes out, I'm like, I don't want to play Duke because I've still got that memory. One tournament game I called Villanova Duke, and we crushed them, and it was so fun. And so the Carolina game was just, I mean, I still can't believe that played out the way it did, that in the 81-year history of the NCAA tournament now, there's been 2 games won at the buzzer. NC State, Derek Wittenberg, Enzo Charles. And it was an air ball, put back. Right. In 83 in Albuquerque, And then Jenkins at the buzzer in Houston against the Tar Heels in 16. Now, like, Keith Smart hits the shot, but that was when time didn't stop. And you remember the ball went through with like 3 or 4 seconds to go, and Syracuse was like bobbling. They could hardly get the ball in time. But in terms of at the buzzer, it's only happened twice in 81 years. And if you take the fact that Wittenberg's was an air ball, even though he always says it's a pass, of course, in the joking, when those guys get together, the 83 championship, you can look at it as literally the only actual shot taken and made at the buzzer in the history of the NCAA tournament championship game was Villanova and Jenkins at the gun to beat the Tar Heels.
Man, well, you had a great call. I love that. I mean, you sent it to me. That was so cool to have that. I still had that. I mean, I can only imagine. And then I don't know if I asked you this. I mean, I wish I asked Jay when I saw him this year. Of course, everybody's asked him, and I know there's been articles about it, but his reaction to winning the national championship on the buzzer-beating shot, like he looks like he lost the game, and he turns over like, all right, I guess we won. Like, and his assistants, I thought they would even be more crazy, but it was just like, and he goes over to shake the hand. I don't understand. Like, I've never seen anybody, even a regular season game, somebody be like, whatever.
So this is what has always amazed me about Jay Wright. His ability to, like, when we travel, like, you never know if you've won or lost, because he's the most steady personality I've ever met in my life, in or outside of sports. And this is what makes him such a great leader. is the fact that he is obviously an amazing motivator of his players, and they play so hard for him. But his ability to just always, you know, whether it's the ambassador that he is for Villanova and the way he handles himself in press conferences, and he's such a genuine guy. Like it's incredible. So going back to what happened is, he talked about this later. He said it was a combination of the fact that the respect for Roy Williams, and also he wasn't positive the game was over. And this is what's not talked a lot about when people talk about his reaction is, you know, they had to go to the monitor, and I remember, you know, looking back at the replay and Jim Nantz on the TV call saying it was out when they went to that. There was a lot going on with Jay, not only about the Roy Williams, but it was like, is this game really over?
Got it.
And that to me was the greatest example at the highest level of how he's able to control his emotions in an unbelievable way.
Brilliant, right? Even you could have at least jumped up and screamed and then been like, okay, hold, you know, we don't know yet. You know how the coaches do that when a guy hits a shot. They're like, oh my God, this is awesome, but like, wait, we still got to go back and play D for a minute. Like, he didn't even do that. But no, he is so genuine, and when I met him, it was way back in 1999 or 2000 when I was at Delaware, and he was at Hofstra. And Mike Bray, Mike Bray and Jay Wright, and you knew both of them were on the fast track, and literally the following year, Mike's at Notre Dame, and Jay's at Villanova. Rest is history.
Oh, those guys, and they had some epic battles back in the day when they were going at each other. Yep. Good stuff.
Join our friends from the Delaware Kids Fund and Harvey Hanna and Associates for the 10th Annual Delaware Kids Fund 5K in Newport, Delaware on Saturday, August 3rd to help fight childhood hunger. To register and for full info, visit dekidsfund.org.
We spent a decent amount of time going over this broadcast stuff. How are you feeling getting ready for this season now?
Exciting. I think, you know, one of the things that we had talked about was just how you can prepare in a way for these games that can be just more efficient, because, you know, you and I have known each other a long time, and, you know, I love the preparation side of this.
Right.
But I think a lot of the good advice you gave me was, how can you prepare more efficiently and actually maybe better, and it takes less time. And I just think the way I've done my charts and a lot of things on the football side, it just needed some advice that could maybe make it, you know, as I said, more efficient. So I'm excited. I think the last 24 hours we've had to go over all this stuff has been huge, and I'm really excited to implement some of the ideas you mentioned.
Show me, what were you saying about like your son who helps you memorize the numbers? Says, I need to do a little bit better with that, I feel like. What does he have?
I don't know how the brain works with this, but if I sit there and look at a name and a number, whether it's football or basketball, and I'm looking at a picture with the player's number and their background and all this, and my 10-year-old son, if he sits there and he says, who's number 0? And I say the name. For whatever reason, my mind can memorize 3 times as fast a name by literally just having somebody else quiz me on by saying the number, and then I say the name instead of me looking at it saying, okay, Ryan Fannon, number 10, Mike Corey, number 22, And then when I watch film, that's a great way to obviously memorize. But my son, who's 10, he's a sports nut. He loves it. Like he literally, his retention of this stuff amazes me. And he ends up memorizing all these names, and we prep together during the week, and he's 10.
You got to get him in the booth or something, man.
Oh,
like,
I know.
He needs to be on your side. This is Ryan
actually,
Jr.
I think he could be a spotter in the making.
Yeah, absolutely. He would be unbelievable with
because
that.
Because all week we work on the numbers. He'd actually be probably the best spotter I ever had, because he'd actually know both teams' numbers.
Exactly. The other spotters don't do that. You know?
No, they're not memorizing numbers. They're coming and and obviously there's a lot of people that are great spotters, and you get the system, and you got your great system with your brother. Yeah. But I'm convinced that he would be fantastic. And then somebody probably be like, well, he's only 10. How well could he do? Like, I guarantee you he would be amazing.
Right, and you would trust him, and he would trust you. He wanted to work hard for Daddy.
He's on it. He's already breaking down the Wizards roster for next year after all this free agency. And I'm talking to him this morning on the phone, and he's like, Dad, before you go, you just got to tell, who do you think will be the starters? Will it be Ish Smith, who they just got from the Pistons, or will it be Isaiah Thomas? And I'm like, oh boy, this is great stuff.
It's awesome. Like, you couldn't have dreamed this up any better, right?
Oh my gosh!
And then to be this fired up about sports.
Oh yeah, and then my 9-year-old daughter, she loves it. She loves it too.
Good.
And I got the 4-year-old daughter. She's just following the other two around, trying to figure it all out of what my big brother and big sister are doing. So we're having a lot of fun. But speaking of them, when Villanova beat Kansas in 2016 in Louisville, Kentucky to advance to the Final Four, I remember that I was flying down to meet my family in Naples, Florida, and my father-in-law is a Syracuse guy. So I get on the plane, and UVA's got this big lead over Syracuse. And my dad played football at UVA in the 50s, so I was excited about UVA going to the Final Four. And I landed, and I thought it was a mistake, because that's when UVA collapsed late in that game. Syracuse went to the Final Four. And now I land in Florida, and the Final Four is a week later, and my wife's like, my dad is so pumped up about Syracuse being in the Final Four. And next thing you know, my 90-year-old father-in-law, my 3 kids, and my wife and I, we drive from Naples, Florida to Houston, Texas. And they are part of Villanova's run to the national championship. And my wife and 3 kids came to the national championship game. And their hotel was 2 miles from the stadium. And she's like, I can't park. I can't get the car seats. Gracie's only, 1.5 years old. So they got one of those bicycles where the guy they were coming down the street. She's like, and they got the kids on one of those mini bicycles you see going around New York City, and they took them from the hotel to the national championship game.
That's awesome.
And I'm during the pregame, I'm up in the crowd with my son, my 2 daughters, and my wife, and Villanova's playing North Carolina for the national championship. And I'm like, this is as good as it gets,
that's
because
awesome.
Having my family there and beating the Tar Heels at the buzzer, I always say to somebody, I could live 200 more years. There is no way ever.
No.
And sometimes in life, it's okay not to have to be like, oh, something could be better. I love the fact that literally that was probably a moment because of just how I got to broadcast that last shot. Somehow I didn't have a heart attack and I got it out.
Yeah.
I remember we went to the commercial. I'm like, play it back.
You want
And
to
I
hear
was
it
like,
again.
because I thought to myself, as we all do, I'm like, imagine Villanova wins the national championship at the buzzer and I had butchered that call.
Yeah.
I would literally not have slept for 10 years.
Right.
I mean, you have one chance.
Right.
And, I'll let other people decide what they think about the call, but I just was grateful that they called the timeout after Page hit the circus 3 to tie it at 74 all with 4.7 seconds to go. And the team, they were loose. They had to play. They knew what they wanted to run. But the play-by-play guy, I needed to regroup.
No,
thank
great.
goodness for the timeout, because it let, you talked about this yesterday, the whole reset, right? Reset.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to be like, 4.7 seconds to go. Villanova 74, North Carolina 74. Jenkins to inbound 94 feet from the Wildcat bucket. Looking to inbound, finds Arcidiacono. 3 seconds to go. Across the timeline, 2 seconds to go. Jenkins 3 right wing, and then I'll stop there. But that was it's still all ingrained in my mind. Speaking of my kids, they memorized the call.
Get out of here.
They both memorized the call all the way through where the Cats win it all, Cats win it all, Cats win it all.
We should play this back right now just to see exactly how you had it down. They know that. They know the whole call.
They got the whole call. So that year after the call, we would go to like family picnics or things, and Ryan or Maggie would do the call. And I was like, is this all happening? It's still been, over 3 years. And since then, we won another national championship in 2018. Right? That team was so incredibly dominant, beat every team in the tournament by 10 points. Now, the Sweet 16 game against West Virginia, they went up 6 in the second half. And then we came back on an unbelievable run It was like a 11-0, 10-0 run in about 2 minutes after that. And we went from down 6 to up 5, I think it was, up in Boston. But that team, I mean, I went to the NBA draft night and watched 3 of our players get drafted in the first round. And then Brunson slipped to the second round early. And I'm like, that was one of the coolest nights ever because, you know, as a Villanova grad, I'm like, okay, we've won 2 national championships in 3 years, and now I'm going to New York, hanging out with my buddies, watching live 3 Villanova players get drafted in the first round and 1 early second round.
It's crazy.
It's just, you can't, all I think to myself is, thank goodness Jay Wright came to Villanova. When I got the play-by-play job in 98, 99, I was like, if I could call 1 Final Four in my life, I would be like, this would be a dream come true. And the fact that I've gotten to call 3 Final Fours, 2 national championship games, and we won both national championship games, it all still seems incredibly surreal to me.
You can't beat that. Like, you can't beat that. People like don't even get to go once, you know. I mean, I haven't been back to the NCAA tournament, to be honest with you, for like a long time because, I don't know. I mean, I'm doing games and, you know, that goes on CBS. People always ask me like, well, you do the tournament. You know, it's like, well, I am on ESPN. That's on CBS. So no, I don't do any of that. You know, you just don't. But they don't know that. Obviously, they just he does basketball. But I know I'd love to just kind of, you know, I was gonna go this year just to hang out, but then I had some other games come up. But I mean, it's an unbelievable scene. The last year, my my freshman year at UMass with Calipari and Canby. When they went to the Final Four, we didn't win the ticket lottery or whatever it was, but that was the last year that the Final Four was actually in a regular-sized arena. It was in the Meadowlands, right? And that was it. After that, they started going to all the football stadiums, right? Yeah. So I don't know about you, but like you went to one. You showed me something on your wall where you moved down and you had unbelievable seats in a Final Four, right?
It was the UConn-Duke game in Tampa in '99.
Wow. Okay.
One of the greatest games ever I've been at in my life.
Just as a fan.
And Connecticut had lost 2 games that whole year, and they were a huge underdog to that incredible Duke team. Yeah. Think about this. UConn, Ricky Moore, Khalid El-Amin, Richard Hamilton, Jake Voskuhl, and Kevin Freeman. I'll never forget, that was the starting 5 for UConn, and that was Calhoun's first national championship team in '99. Right. Speaking of UConn, how about them coming back to the Big East? I know,
going back to the Big East. I think it's a good move for them. You'll love it. They'll love it. Their fans will be fired up. I love the American. I think it's a great conference. It was probably around the 5th or 6th rated conference last year in the country because there's unbelievable teams, unbelievable talent. They had 4 teams go to the tournament. I have no knock on that league, but it doesn't fit geography-wise, obviously, and rivalry-wise for UConn. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. We talked about this. Football and money drove the bus for a lot of schools. Some it worked out, and this one is like one it did not. You know, like a BC or, you know, they're struggling. I mean, they're okay football. They're hanging in there. But, like, I don't know. I mean, it's just, I hated that year, that stretch of a couple of years where everybody just started moving around the country to different leagues.
I still can't wrap my head around the fact that Maryland's not in the ACC all these years later, that they're in the Big Ten and all this, the geographics exactly. But the thing about Connecticut, which I like the most, is now the great thing about the 10 teams in the Big East, with Connecticut being 11, was, you know, the home and home is the best.
Oh yeah.
In the Big East, when you had all the teams, like, all right, well, this year we're going to play Syracuse at home. And we're going to play at West Virginia, and then this team we're going to play twice. What I've loved about the Big East is, you know, every year you're going to play home and away. And that's the 9 other teams, and that's 18 league games. But Connecticut, being the 11th, the league looks like it will move to 20 games. Yeah. Now, it takes a couple non-conference games away, but Villanova's been playing Connecticut in recent years in a non-conference matchup. Played them the last 2 years, and we're going to play them this year in Philly, ironically, and then the next year we'll play them twice in the regular season if everything works out, because I know when they announced it they didn't say the official year, but I guess the speculation is it's going to be the 2021 season when they return to the Big East. But just the UConn fans, the way that school can capture an entire state and the way that they used to bring the fans to the Big East tournament. The Big East tournament crowds have been incredible at Madison Square Garden in recent years. and Val Ackerman has done an unbelievable job with the Big East brand and everything, and the crowds have been great. But bringing Connecticut back, because to me it's all about. Somebody said, "What do you think about it, Ryan?" I'm like, I love it. It's about the competition. It's about the rivalries. UConn is one of Villanova's all-time greatest rivals, and now we get to play them again twice, and then we get to play all the other Big East
and
teams.
In the tournament, maybe and stuff.
And it's all basketball-driven, and there's not all that conflict. Like this Connecticut's the one team that I thought would be the fit, because now if you go beyond 11 ever, I don't think teams want to ever go play 22 league games. 20 is the max. So I think 11 is perfect. Connecticut was a perfect team. It's good for them. It's good for the league, and it's good for Villanova, because I look at it. I get to call 2 or 3 if we play them in the Big East tournament, Connecticut Villanova games. And at the end of the day, you want great games. You want great competition. It's like the Big Five in Philly. I want those Big Five teams to be really good. And there are people to be like, well, I can't root for St. Joe's or LaSalle or Temple or Penn. Here's the way I look at this. I want the Big East to be as good as it can be, because if we beat quality teams, we have a better resume come March.
Right.
When Villanova plays all these Big Five teams in the great tradition of the Big Five, I want them to be good. I want them to be good games.
Right.
And if we beat them, I want it to be a quality win on our conference schedule. So I've never gotten folks that have not said, I don't care about our league, or I don't care about the other Big Five. No. Who wants to play a bunch of teams that are not good?
Right.
I want competition. I want competitive games. And at the end of the day, I want Villanova to beat them.
Right. And it looks good. It looks so much better, as you said, for the resume. It doesn't help you to beat up on crap teams in the non-conference, which is much better for you guys now, because you'll have 2 less non-conference games, and the Connecticut twice. It's like, well, what's better than that?
This year, I'm so pumped up.
Right.
I've always wanted to go to Columbus, Ohio. Great college town. Villanova plays them in November up there. Kansas is coming to Villanova on December 21st down in South Philadelphia. And then we're playing Connecticut in January, stepping out of Big East play in January to play them in a non-conference game.
That's great.
And then we've got a tournament down in Myrtle. So, I mean, it's just, it's
there's
good stuff.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's going to be good. Well, good stuff, man. Hey, keep it going, right? Some of these runs, you can't.
I mean, even like I think about. I remember coming to your place in Delaware, and you showed me when you were the voice of Delaware, and Delaware won the 2003 national championship. Would you be Colgate 40-0?
Right, 40-0, yeah.
And then the next year, I remember JMU won it, and then 4 years later, Richmond won it in 08, and then we won it in 09. The road to Chattanooga, and that's the other thing. Like Villanova football, like. For Coach Talley in his 32 years to have won a national championship, I was so happy for him. Him and I used to talk about the road to Chattanooga forever. Yeah. And then we shut down Chattanooga.
Yes.
It was the final year of the game, as you remember, because you know all this stuff, in Chattanooga in 09, and then it went to Frisco, Texas the next year.
As much as their rivalry was, and everybody at Delaware kind of hated Villanova, and Villanova hated Delaware, it didn't. You had respect, and it's like me as a Red Sox fan. I hate the Yankees, but it's like I respect like Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera and those kind of guys, because they're unbelievable and they're good. They're good ambassadors for the game. The way Jeter. Come on, did he ever have any issues? Did he ever get any trouble? Whatever. Nobody's perfect, but you have to respect them. Like I always respected Andy Talley, like a super nice guy. And even when we talked to him, he would give us everything.
He's the best.
He's the best, right? And it's like, so you get that. And what I was thinking of is it's just times in team history where the tide goes one way, or it could honestly go the other. Like you mentioned, JMU winning the title in 04. I go back to this situation. Delaware was playing at William & Mary that year in the playoffs and up by 21 points at halftime. They lost the game at William & Mary, and then JMU got to host, I think, or play William & Mary or whatever it was, and they ended up winning, and they ended up moving on. If Delaware had won, they would have hosted JMU.
That's right. I remember that.
They might have beaten JMU per se. It's at Delaware Stadium. Yeah. They just won a title the year before. Delaware's on fire. They got a lot of good players. No. Instead, JMU, Mickey Matthews is the head coach. He's on the hot seat. Like he's about to get fired if they don't do something well. They end up winning the national title. And now, when everybody knows about JMU, that school, their name is really elevated. It's like a household name now. Their stadium is huge. The campus, it's always been beautiful there. Game day's been there twice, 3 times now, whatever.
Villanova played JMU college game day in Harrisonburg. I was down there a couple years ago. That was the neatest thing at the FCS level, to be there when college game day was there.
Right. That was one of the best crowds ever. Like, I think that was honestly one of the best game day crowds, and you've said it.
They did it right in the heart of the campus.
It was unbelievable. Like, it was better than some of the big time schools. Like, so that's changed everything. You go back to that year, and they did it right. They won it all. They're like, new stadium, get all this money, let's go. And they
beat Montana maybe in their national championship game in 04. You know, one other thing I was just thinking about, Villanova and Delaware fans will remember this. We came so close to playing Delaware for the national championship in 2010.
Right.
Villanova lost in a heartbreaker on the red carpet out at Eastern Washington.
Yep.
And if we had won that game, Villanova would have played Delaware for the national championship. And then Eastern Washington plays Delaware. And I remember you told me this, the most heartbreaking probably broadcast of your tenure tenfold is you're up, I believe, 19-0 in the national championship.
Yeah, we're up 19 points.
Third quarter?
Yeah, 19-point lead, and I think it was halftime or something, and we're excited, but I was like, well, this is not over yet. I mean, and you know in football, I mean, it goes one of two ways. I mean, you're getting blown out and you're done. Or in a 19-point game, doesn't sound so insurmountable when the other team has the ball, right? They go and they score. Now they're down 12, right? Then they stop you. Big deal. One stop, and then they get the ball back and they score again. And now it's like a one-possession game. And the other team's freaking out, like, what the heck happened here? We're up 19, sitting comfortable. All you got to do, I mean, that wasn't much. It was like score, stop, score.
Was that final 20-19 or 21-19?
I can't remember, unfortunately. I don't know why I can't remember, but they ended up losing, though, by
that
a couple.
Crazy. That was one
terrible.
Of the wildest finishes.
Yeah, there was a horrible non-call. Like, Casey Keeler, who I love, was the coach, and now he's at Sam Houston State doing a great job there. He called for a measurement, like he wanted a measurement on one of these spots, and they didn't give it to him or whatever. Or I think they ended up doing it, then they messed up where the chains were. It was a whole fiasco, and then they put it back right. And I don't know, we didn't get the first down, whatever, something happened, and it was horrible.
He was that close to winning 2 national championships.
It should have been over. Yeah, he should have had another one. And in 07, we had Flacco.
Oh, that's right. You played App State in the
State,
title
but
game,
they were
right?
killing everybody. They like Armani Edwards and all these
Edwards was he was amazing.
Yeah, and Lynch and all these like crazy players. So we got destroyed with Joe Flacco and company. And I can't stand when people give Flacco like a hard time. You know, I mean, he was an unbelievable quarterback. He never got his fair, I feel like, in the NFL where he had control of the offense. That guy has a rocket arm. He would pick people apart. I don't think his offensive coordinators were helpful for him. He had so many of them, too, in Baltimore. And he still won a Super Bowl and was the MVP. I can't stand when people think like he's not a great quarterback. Yeah, he's unbelievable. He has not been able to exercise his talents without being held back. Like, people don't understand. They don't call the plays. I mean, you guys on the sideline. Imagine if you're a quarterback, you have to kind of just like suck your teeth, like, all right, we're running this play. Let's go, guys. When you're like, what are we doing here? You know, as a player, coaches are telling you what to do. I'm sure some guys have maybe a little more autonomy than others to change it up or do what they want. But that's coming from your offensive coordinator, right? I mean, it's like a job. It's like your boss is telling you what to do, and you're like, I don't agree with this, but I got to do it. I think that's kind of what happened to him. I mean, he would dominate. Like, that guy was a good guy. So, anyway.
It's a lot of great memories, and I'm really glad you got to come down and
great.
hang
We'll do
out.
this again. We're doing this again next year. I'm coming down. We're playing a full 18.
Full 18. Full 18.
We'll get it in.
And I'll let you know all these great tips you gave me on implementing the broadcast execution of just, making it more efficient like we talked about. I'm really excited to talk to you throughout the season.
It's going to be a fun year, man.
Can't wait, brother.
All right, good seeing you.
Great to see you, Mike.
All right.
Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. And you can follow Mike's travels all year long on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on the web at Mike Corey Sports.